All right, guys. Our next guest had an incredible weekend as he took his fighters to victory 3 nights in a row across 3 different events, capping it off with Brad Riddell, Dan Hooker, and then Israel Adesanya becoming the UFC middleweight champion, UFC 243. The man behind New Zealand's own City Kickboxing, Eugene Bareman. Welcome back to Submission Radio. Dude, it is almost 11 o'clock at night, and look at this. You got the middleweight title. How are you? Is this the new one, or is this the interim one? Which one is this one?
Well, the interim one became the new one, so this is the new one. Yeah, so this is the new one. This is the undisputed title. And the reason I've got it is because Israel won't let me separate from it because I wouldn't acknowledge the other one. And then he was pretty adamant that because this is the real one, I have to hold on to it.
What do you mean? So he's not going to be carrying it around? He's not taking it anywhere? This is basically yours now to kind of take around?
Yeah, that's what he wanted. So, I mean, like, he kind of did it. Like, if you talk to him, I've heard him say that as far as he's concerned, he won the title already, but I didn't even want to look at that belt. I wanted to keep my mind focused on being the challenger. So I actually had that belt for a while, and I just had it in the bottom of my shoe cupboard.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And but now I fully recognize this belt. This is the real undisputed belt. Like, this is a no marketing ploy here. You're the best in the world. You're the number one. You're the top dog. So this is it. So I was proud of our achievement last time, beating Gastelum, but I'm super proud of this, achieving this and getting this belt.
Wow. Huge. While I love seeing that belt and seeing the title, if I can get you to just be sort of a little bit more in the center of the frame, just so that we don't cut off the pretty face. There we go. Perfect.
How's that?
Perfect.
And my arms are fully stretched.
Yeah, no, you're nailing it. Yeah. That's perfect. I was gonna say also, how do you keep him hungry? Because I know that was kind of one of the things you told us. You didn't want that interim title around. You wanted him to be hungry like a challenger. Is that part of the mindset behind kind of hiding this one? Because he's got to stay hungry if he wants to keep defending the belt, right?
Apologies. Yeah, it definitely was. When you're first trying to reach out and grab a title, like, having the challenger's mindset can be a really powerful tool to use. Mm. And at that stage, because we only had the interim belt, then being able to use that tool was still available to us. But only if we did acknowledge that it was the interim belt, that we still had a fair way to go before we achieved what we kind of set out to do. And it just took him a while to get that mindset. And then eventually he put the belt away and gave it to me and said, "Look, I don't want to look at this again until it's the real belt." So eventually we both got to the same place, and as a testament to whether that worked or not, I don't know if it worked, but the belt's on my shoulder, so maybe that had something to do with it.
It's great to see you with that belt on your shoulder, Huge. I'm just wondering, like, you mentioned before that this, is kind of the belt. Like, you didn't want to acknowledge it before, but now you're acknowledging it now. What does it mean for you to be able to put it on your shoulder now and take it out of the box and sort of show it around and sort of be able to take it out of the darkness?
Yeah, I'm not really showing it around. I'll just show it to you guys.
It was in the bathroom, to be fair. It was in the bathroom before the interview. Was it just there on the towel rack, just as the place where you kept it, or did you do it for the interview?
No, well, it was on the suitcase, which is just outside this door. It was in my suitcase. And then I was like, you know what, the boys are interviewing, I should grab it out. But in terms of what it means, it just means the culminate. Like, when you set yourself a goal and a really lofty goal, and you actually achieve it, it's surreal. I'm still, to be honest, I haven't really processed the enormity of what we did. To be honest, I'm still getting used to it, if you like. But it just means a culmination of years and years of work and actually backing up a task that you set yourself to do like years ago. It's a very rewarding feeling. It's quite heavy, so I'm going to take it off my shoulder. Yeah, there it is.
That's right. It comes with the weight of the world on your shoulders. Let me ask you something, Huge, because we saw you didn't come out for the post-fight press conference, and we sort of had a few theories as to what a guy like you would do to celebrate such a successful night in your career and in your fighters' careers. So answer it for us. Once everything was said and done, how did you celebrate, one of the biggest nights in sort of combat sports history in Australasia?
Uh, yeah, the reason I wasn't there was I wanted to go and see my team who were waiting in the changing room, who obviously aren't allowed out in the bowl area. And me and Israel, we owe everything to them. And those are the first people that I wanted to see. Those are the first people I wanted to acknowledge. So as soon as I got out of the cage, I sprinted down there and I just wanted to see them. And then we had our own little celebration just amongst each other, a little private one where we just acknowledge each other, acknowledge the hard work. There's some screaming and some yahooing, but my first immediate thought went to them and all the rest of the people that have helped us along the way. Yeah, so that's why I went to them straight away, and I could catch up with Israel later.
When we were talking to Israel at the post-fight press conference, I asked him about what you sort of meant to him, and he really sort of expressed that, you're super important to him, you're just such a big part of his life. But I'd love to sort of flip that around to you. We always sort of have talked about your cool relationship and what your dynamic is, but like looking back on everything now, like what does that relationship with him mean to you?
I'm going to say that our relationship it's somewhere between a friend and a father. So it's not one or the other. It's stuck in a weird place in the middle.
But who's the father, right? I think he's called you the father. Yeah. You're the father in a relationship, right? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm also a friend. So I'm also a friend to him. Like we're not that far apart in age and stuff.
Yeah.
I would have had to be 10 if I had him as my child. But it's in a weird place like that. But what that does allow me to do is have kind of two sets of feelings, if you like that emotions when you're looking at a close mate achieving something, but also when I guess you're looking at like a son, I'm able to experience both because I'm kind of wearing both hats.
Yeah,
it's a strange sort of feeling, but yeah, just immensely proud, and both ends of the spectrum. Just as a mate, just as one of the boys that has achieved it, but then there's that other side of it when he's almost like one of my own sons, where I'm like standing there with that smile, like almost like a proud father as well. So yeah, that's where I'm at, I guess.
I think a lot of people get that vibe, and I think it definitely comes across so we can understand it. Did you think that he was going to beat Robert Whittaker inside 2 rounds and beat him in such emphatic fashion?
Yeah, I'm not really. I never make fight predictions, but I keep them private. But I thought the fight would go. I thought the fight was going to go 2 ways over. Israel was going to win. Very convincingly over the whole distance, or he was going to stop Robert early. But I will say that by early I mean within the 5 rounds. But I thought that would come around 4 or 5. I did not expect it to come that early.
Oh wow! What do you think? What do you think it was due? Like this quick finish? Were you surprised? Was it something that Israel did on the night that led to the quick finish, or do you think it was something about Rob that maybe he did something that you guys didn't expect?
No, Rob did everything. We expected every single thing that Rob did. How if I give you a bit of insight into our game plan without giving too much away, but I never tell Israel to give away a round, but sometimes I'm prepared for him to. I'm prepared for him to lose a round if it means him gaining some knowledge about his opponent. So I asked him to start slowly and get the reads right, get the feints right, get the distance right, get used to the person's, get used to Robert's speed, get used to whether he was going to bounce or whether he was going to be more conventional. We'd get used to whether he was going to lead with that oblique kick or whether he was going to just basically. I asked him to get his eye in early and be conservative, and that might, and I didn't tell him that. I didn't tell him this, of course. Like, I didn't tell him that might mean we might lose the first round, but I was fully prepared that if we did lose that first round, to lose the first round, in order to gain that sort of intel, if you like. And then, so what happened was he got the intel, and he made the adjustments really early and keyed into certain things really early, and that's why the knockout came early, because he grabbed that intel real early and was really comfortable. He actually if I'm being honest, like, he didn't really follow our strict game plan. He was in and out of our game plan in the first round. He was in and out of it. So there was parts we wanted to not stand in front of him too much, and we wanted to turn Robert a bit more, and we wanted to stay away from the right hand. We wanted to mitigate the right hand, which sets up the left hook, as opposed to like mitigating the left hook lead or the left jab. We wanted to get away from that right hand. He stood in front of that right hand, and after the first round, I asked him to get back to the position where we wanted to fight from. But he actually said to me that he assured me. He just said, "Look, brother, I see it. I see the right hand, and we don't have to worry about it."
Wow.
Which is like, it's difficult for me at that stage, because then my job is to mitigate the risk of the right hand. I know you see it, but if there's a chance where you make a mistake, and I can take that away from. I can take that away from you. Like, if you make a mistake, it doesn't matter, because you're going to be standing in the right position. He was prepared to stand more in front of the right hand than I wanted him to. But he got very comfortable very early. He's seen something. I haven't really talked specifically about what he's seen, but there was a giveaway there with that right hand that he just picked up, and he knew it was coming. He was able to evade it. He ended up evading it with a particular move that we've practiced, for years now. So,
wow,
it's amazing. It was an amazing fight. Like, if you look at those shots that knocked Robert down, like, there's only one way those shots are causing damage. And that's if they're 100% accurate and right on the button.
Yeah.
Because an off-balance shot like that, with your body like in that sort of position, if it had hit anywhere else, it would have just scraped off him or rolled off him. But those shots were in the only place they could have been to do damage, and that's a testament to a side of Israel that I still don't fully understand, and that's just that ability to connect your eye with your hand to the target in an awkward position. Like, that's something that I still don't fully understand how he does, but that's something very special, right, that he does, that not many other fighters in the UFC do. Yeah, sorry, I carried on a bit there, but you got me talking about what I like to talk about.
Dude, that was great. That was amazing.
We love hearing about that, Coach. Just quickly as well, I was wondering, obviously an incredible entrance for Israel. He was able to sort of do something special with his lifelong friends and do an incredible dance before he came out. And some people were a little bit worried when they saw that. They thought, oh, maybe it's going to take away from his performance. But is that something that you guys discussed before the fight? And did you care at all about him doing something like that?
Nah, I mean, I know I know what he's capable of, and I know that was like water off a duck's back, all that stuff. We have like a saying, and it's a bit of a cheesy saying, but it's a reassurance that we have with each other. And it happened after his first ever kickboxing loss. He fought in Glory and he lost. And he came into the ring. He just wasn't ready. He got overwhelmed by the moment. It was his first moment on the big stage, and Philippe van der Linden beat him convincingly. But he never had that eye of the tiger. He didn't have it. Like, he just came in too casual and too nonchalant. And ever since that fight, that's going back years now, if I need reassurance that his mind's in the right place, I'll look at him and I'll go, eye of the tiger, eye of the tiger. And then he'll just nod at me and he said, yeah, eye of the tiger.
Wow.
And then I know we're on. Then I know that I got nothing to worry about mentally. So it's a little cheesy, but it's the thing it's what me and him do to reassure ourselves that, that his mind is in the right place before the fight. So it works every time.
Wow, that's incredible, because that's just something you would see like in a movie, and it's great that we can find out that information. Just quickly as well, I love that he brought up Death Note. He pulled out the notebook, wrote Robert Whittaker's name in that notebook. I know you're not much of a person that's big on pop culture. Did you know much about Death Note? And when you saw it, were you like, what's he doing? Or what went through your mind when you saw him do that?
I had no idea. But I've since had it explained to me. There's like a picture of him. Have you guys seen the picture on Instagram? And he's writing down people's names. And then apparently that guy who's like some sort of death god or something, that's me apparently, standing behind him. So
how's it feel to be a death god, Huge?
Yeah.
A death god? Yeah, I would prefer to be a life god, to be honest, but it is what it is. That's a bit of culture that I don't really understand, but he embraces it. Good on him.
It's cool, man. It's funny, like, talking about the culture and stuff. I feel like, for the first part of Israel's, or everything before this in Israel's UFC career, was kind of, how good is he? What is the ceiling on his skills? And I feel like we've kind of moved away from that, and now it's just how big of a star can Israel Adesanya be? We've had those Conor McGregor comparisons, and I feel like in some ways, it's almost like he's, I don't want to say moved past Conor, but he's separated himself. He's the new school guy with all the pop culture references, the memes. He's what's in. He's what's cool right now. In your words, Huge, what is it that you think, makes Israel, excuse me, such a big star, and why people are so drawn to him?
I think that he's just himself, and he's just if he just be himself, like that's such an engaged person. So you don't need to necessarily. He doesn't have to be. He doesn't have to do the Jon Jones thing and pretend like he's someone else, and then years later come out and you're not actually that person. He just his personality is something that people just actually gravitate towards, and I think that's the key. He's just being himself. People like it, people gravitate towards it, and that's all he has to do. So it all comes very natural to him, and that's what I think is in terms of the success, in terms of picking up fans and stuff outside of the actual fights. I think that's the key part of it. Just being himself.
I just love to quickly, before we move off the fight, just get your thoughts on sort of Robert Whittaker in his future. I mean, he is still without a doubt one of the toughest guys in the division. Do you believe that this is one of possibly many fights that Israel's going to have with him? Do you think a guy like Robert will be able to find his way back to another title shot down the track?
I think definitely. I think there's a definite chance that we can see that me and Israel will see Robert again. He's just so good, right? Look what he's done. He just, he met his match yesterday night. But that doesn't necessarily mean that it's over for him. He's actually younger than Israel. And for what it's worth, Robert, I've always liked Robert. Robert's probably I shouldn't say this, but Robert's probably more of the fighter that I'd gravitate towards than someone like Israel, just because I think Robert's personality is probably um, closer to mine.
Yeah.
But I think he can definitely be. He's just because he lost to Israel, he's still one of the best middleweights in the world, and he still has a really good chance of fighting again if Israel wants to stay at middleweight and defend a few times. If he wants to do that, then Robert will definitely be in that mix, I reckon.
Mm-hmm. It's funny, like I always think back to that story how you told us, early when you first met Israel, you were kind of like, oh, I don't know about this guy, maybe you should train somewhere else. So and obviously to see where you guys are now, and it makes a lot of sense why in the early days you would have gravitated to a guy more like Rob. But I want to touch on Paulo Costa because he seems like the guy that's next in line. Him and Israel had that awesome back and forth when Israel won and jumped on the cage. It looked like Costa wanted to get in the cage himself. What do you think of Costa as, I guess, the next challenge, the next opponent, now that, Israel's gone through this test? And I guess Costa's striking, right? That's something that you would probably enjoy talking about. Do you see him as any kind of threat to Israel in any way?
He's he's a very, I'm trying to be, I want to be, I don't want to, but he's very fundamentally sound. Like, he does the basics really well. He just, he doesn't have a broad enough skill set, even in the striking, to trouble Israel. If all you have to worry about is just, a really strong guy who throws, who walks in and throws 2 or 3 or even a 4-punch combination, if that's all you have to worry about, then it's just not going to be enough. Like, I don't want to be overconfident, but I'm happy for that. If that's the fight that happens next, then that's not going to be a problem for us. There's bigger challenges in the middleweight division than Paulo Costa. He's worked himself up to a great position where he seems to be the number one guy. So he looks like the most likely scenario if Israel. It's hard for me to know what's going to happen. Like, Israel could. It's up to him now. Like, he's in a funny position. Like, he's where Conor McGregor was. Like, Israel calls the shots now. That's the thing. Israel does what he wants to do. He said it in the press conference. So, like, I'm gonna let my dancers do this, and if my dancers don't come, then I'm not doing nothing. He calls the shots now. He's got himself to that position. And whatever he wants to do, what he wants to do. So it's not up to Paulo Costa, or it's not up to the UFC. Now Israel's in another stratosphere where he gets to call the shots, and it's up to him. So he might go and fight in a different division. I have no idea. We've got to get together and talk about it.
Wow. I'd love to pick your brain more on that. And find out if there's a possibility that maybe we would see Jon Jones next, or you even mentioned Stipe Miocic next.
Yeah, Jon Jones. I haven't followed the story completely, but I don't know how that came up. But that would be a hard fight for my team, the group of guys that get together and decide who Israel fights. That would be a very hard fight for us to get across the line. Because, we're just like, why? There's ethical and moral issues that don't sit well with my team. And they would be very reluctant to give a man like him the sort of opportunity that Israel can bestow on him. We have a track record of not fighting certain opponents, even though they make sense. And I'm not talking about in the UFC, I'm talking about locally. Because they're just not good people. And, and Israel can want to fight him and have all the desire in the world to fight him that he wants. But It's not his decision. It's not solely his decision. So if my team decides that, it would just be hard for me to look at my team and ask them, should we give Jon Jones this opportunity, considering the type of person he is. Stipe Miocic. And I said, this is, was it you guys? Because it was taken all a little bit out of context.
Well, it was.
We did not write the articles, but you did say it to us originally about Stipe Miocic. Yeah. We didn't take anything out of context.
We don't write huge. We're not smart enough. We just interview.
Yeah, but you guys asked me, what's the biggest fight?
Correct.
And you shocked us.
Yeah, and I said Stipe Miocic, but because my inclination is to avoid someone like Jon Jones, not because Israel can't beat Jon Jones, it's just because, like my team's just different to that team. Like that team, we're just different. Like we don't vibe with that type of person. We don't vibe with that sort of behavior. Like my team's just in a different place ethically and morally. Like it just wouldn't happen. Like we just don't want to mess with that. Like Israel might want to. He might feel a little bit differently, but for me and my team, my group of coaches, my fighters, we just want nothing to do with anybody like that. That's just where we're at.
Just quickly on that, Huge, I'm just wondering, do you mean Jon specifically as an individual or his team? Because we've seen in the news, coaches have been voicing disappointments and not being paid. There's a whole bunch of issues with the camps. There's a lot of allegations going around. Is it specifically Jon that you're sort of turned off by, or just some of the stuff that's been happening down there at the camp?
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure what you're referring to. He doesn't pay his guys.
There's just little things floating around. There's a bit of hearsay here and there. People last week there was a lot of social media posts from coaches. Let's not get into that. What I wanted to ask you
we're just let me explain this. Like we're different camps. If Israel goes and does some of the things that Jon Jones does, he can no longer that Jon Jones does. He's not going to be a part of my gym. It doesn't matter how much money he makes. He will have to leave my gym because he'll just be a shit human being, and you can't do that. You can't be that person at my gym. Like, and I'm not. If he can, their setup's different. Their setup's different, and obviously, like, they treat things and they treat people differently. But like, I'm just giving an example from my gym, and I'm using Israel. Like figuratively using Israel. Israel does those sort of things. He has to leave the gym. He never, and if he, like maybe he doesn't leave the gym, but then me and the 30 other guys in the fight team, we take him out the back and we bash the shit out of him. Huh. We give him some tough love and we say, look, this, like, it's a completely different team. They set it up and they run it how they want to run it, and all power to them. And then me and my team, we do things our way, and yeah, that's the key difference. I'm not saying anything about the team. They'll be one of the best teams, still are one of the best teams in the world, and they will remain to be that. It's just a way different setup to my setup. That's all I'm saying.
No, and we appreciate the honesty. And Coach Wink, a friend of the show, so we definitely see things from both perspectives. Just quickly, Huge, I just want to ask you about this notion. A lot of people see that Jon Jones keeps bringing Israel Adesanya up and kind of really is so keen on this fight. And I wonder, do you think at this stage Jon Jones needs a guy like Israel more than a guy like Israel needs a Jon Jones?
Jon Jones 100% needs Israel. Israel doesn't need Jon Jones at all. Jon Jones Israel is baiting Jon Jones at every corner, and Jon Jones just keeps biting because Jon Jones knows he needs Israel. He has Israel. Man, let's not talk about Jon Jones. Let's talk about Stipe. If we have to talk about this super fight, let's talk about Stipe. Let's talk about Israel going up. Has anybody gone up and won 2 titles but skipped the division?
Not that I can think of.
Gone up. Well, there you go. There's a bit of history. It's Jon Jones so far has not been willing to go up to heavyweight. He's been reluctant to go to heavyweight. Am I correct?
To date,
Jon
correct.
Jones?
Yep.
Well, Israel wouldn't be reluctant to go to heavyweight. Israel would go to heavyweight, and he would fight Stipe Miocic. There you go. We'll take that fight, Jon Jones. If you don't want to take it, you hang around at light heavyweight. We'll skip light heavyweight, and we'll take that fight. We'll take that fight off you. There's some more bait. There's some more bait there, so Jon Jones can bite on it and start doing what he does, like what these guys do. But we'll take the fight.
Wow.
Don't worry about Jon Jones. Let's stop talking about Jon Jones. Let's talk about Stipe. We got a bit to do. We got Paulo Costa. We got other things, but yeah, let's talk about that. Let's stop talking about Jon Jones and that big matchup. There's bigger matchups than Jon Jones. How about a guy going up 2 weight divisions to claim another title?
What is it? What is it? Because you mentioned to us that you see certain things at heavyweight that Israel could sort of take advantage of. What would some of those things be?
Well, some of them are obvious. Like there's like speed advantages, agility advantages that you have just because you're a smaller person. But of course, then there's other stuff you're giving away. Like obviously size, strength, a little bit of reach. Miocic might even be taller than Israel. But there's some other more specific things I've seen that obviously I'm not going to go into, but those are the general things. Yeah, there you go. This has been an interview there. A lot of people are going to do this. And you know what? I won't see any of it, but Israel will tell me about it.
Thanks for
And just
thanks for the
when you
headlines,
see it,
Coach. This is a crazy interview, by the way. This is an absolutely wild interview.
Yeah. I think it has something to do with the belt being in the bathroom. But I was going to say, Huge, when you see those articles, make sure to know that we have nothing to do with them. We just do the interviewing. Let me just quickly ask a couple more things, and then we'll let you go because it's late here in Melbourne, and we want you to catch your flight on time. A guy that's been very, very complimentary of Israel Adesanya has been Conor McGregor. He was very supportive during the fight week. He was sort of tweeting a lot of stuff. I know that you probably wouldn't have seen it, but what do you think about a guy like Conor sort of seeing that star potential in Israel Adesanya and being so public and vocal about it?
I think for me, I don't really give Conor two thoughts. Like I don't really think about him much and what that means. But I know for Israel, who was a big fan, I don't know. I think he's still a big fan of Conor's. It means a lot. It's very reassuring for Israel when someone of that magnitude who's done some very big things in the sport. But someone who's done some very big things in the sport comes and compliments him. It shows Israel that he's on the right path to where he wants to go, which is to be bigger than Conor. So that's what that means to him. For me, what it doesn't mean nothing. Yeah, personally, it doesn't mean anything to me.
Yeah, I guess you didn't care too much about the Rock DMing him, but I know a lot of fans thought that was pretty cool. I think Israel thought that was pretty cool. You know how if I get something, then one of those guys sends it to me, and if they send it to me, then they really want me to look at it. Like the latest thing that got sent to me is from the UFC page is it's got Israel standing over Robert Whittaker, a really good photo. And then it's got a guy called Robert Whittaker's manager. Who's that? Is it Titus? It's Tim.
Titus,
oh,
yes.
Robert Whittaker's? Yeah, Titus.
Yeah, it's got Titus commenting on it. Let's go, Barachinya. Underneath see, this is the kind of thing that gets sent to me. But it means like it's hard. It's out of context. Like I don't know the meaning. Now I know the meaning. I've had it explained to me. Obviously, that's Robert Whittaker's manager, who's a little bit sour, and is now supporting Barachinya, which I think is like who cares to me? I'm wondering why the guys send me this. But yeah, that's an example of the kind of things that get sent to me, and how I find out about them. So.
Well, I guess the good thing is that everybody's into this Barachinya Israel fight. We'll end on this, Huge, because obviously you do have that flight in a few hours. Israel Adesanya Dan Hooker getting a dominant win over Ally Quinta, shooting his shot, calling out Dustin Poirier. It doesn't look like that fight may happen, but still putting on a great performance. Brad Riddell, successful UFC debut. Not only that, but you had 3 nights back-to-back of cornering fighters. Was this arguably the greatest night in CKB history to date, or possibly the greatest weekend in CKB history to date?
I think you can't argue with that. I think that's like a very perfect description of what happened. I think it was as better a night as we could get for my little gym in this little corner of the earth. So you hit it right on the button.
Well, I'll tell you something, Coach. There's a reason why we needed to do this interview, and that is because I know you don't like the credit, but we couldn't make this week go past without having you on, congratulating you for all your hard work, making you sit in the bathroom with a UFC title in the middle of the night while you broke down everything. And look at that. City Kickboxing, one of the reasons why the UFC is considering involving New Zealand more and the Ultimate Fighter more in the Contender Series, signing more fighters. City Kickboxing, one of the reasons why Melbourne had one of the biggest, or the biggest, UFC attendances of all time and the biggest organic Australasian card of all time. And the man to thank, obviously the team, an amazing job, but also Eugene Bareman. Instagram is at City Kickboxing. Make sure to check out the new gym. And Eugene, we can't wait to see what's next from all your fighters. Thank you so much for joining us on the show.
Thank you guys. Always a pleasure. You guys do a great job. Thank you.
Thanks, Huge. Really appreciate it.